Vasudeva.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pricharine Nirviseshasha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's continue with reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 20. The conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidur. Mandavya Shapad Bhagavan Praja Samyamano Yamaha Bhratu Kshetra Bhujishyamam Jata Satyavati Sutat. I know that you are now, Vidur, due to the cursing of Mandavya Muni, and that formerly you were King Yamraj, the great controller of living entities after their death. You were begotten by the son of Satyavati, Vyasadev, in the kept wife of his brother. So here Maitreya Muni is saying that he knows what is Vidur's real identity. Mandavya Muni was the great sage, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.1, and Vidur was formerly the controller Yamraj, who takes charge of the living entities after death. Birth, maintenance, and death are three conditional states of the living entities who are within the material world. Now we think it's so natural. Oh, birth meant that we have to take birth, and then we have to live for some time, and then we have to die and take another birth. And we accept this. But actually these are conditional states, because we are eternally spirit souls. We are not this body. But because we identify with the body, we just accept, oh yes, I have to born, I have to live, I have to die. So we need to question why I have to do this. As the appointed controller after death, Yamraj once tried Mandavya Muni for his childhood profligacy and ordered him to be pierced with a lance. Mandavya, being angry at Yamraj for awarding him undue punishment, cursed him to become a Shudra, member of the less intelligent labor class. So what happened was one day Mandavya Muni, he was a great sage, and suddenly he got arrested by the soldiers of the king. And then they were going to pierce him. They were going to pierce his eyes with a lance, and they were going to kill him. And the king realized, oh, this is a great sage, Mandavya Muni. And last minute, he stopped that killing. You know, otherwise the soldiers were there ready to kill him with the lance. So then, when Mandavya Muni was taken, he went to Yamraj and he said, why did you let me go through that experience? And what did I do? I never did anything wrong. So Yamraj told him, oh, because when you were a kid, you were poking the ants with the grass. You were poking them. And that's the reason you had to experience this. So Mandavya Muni said, I was a child at that time. So then I didn't know what I was doing. And because of this, you put me through this. So that means you don't know how to take proper, to decide properly. So you're acting like a Shudra. Then you'll be born as a Shudra. And that's how Vidur was born in the womb of the maidservant. But always, because Krishna always organizes, he arranges the pastimes in such a way. Actually, Vidur, Yamraj, because he's a pure devotee of the Lord, a great Mahajan, he always had the desire to engage in devotional service, hear and chant about Krishna, associate with the devotees. But when he's in his Patal Loka, he does not get that opportunity. He's very, very busy. He's the most busiest of all the demigods, giving them punishments, trying them, because there are more souls who do sinful activities. And so that he could get this chance of engaging in devotional service, he took birth as Vidur. So thus Yamraj took birth in the womb of the kept wife of Vichitravirya from the semen of Vichitravirya's brother, Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is the son of Satyavati by the great sage Parasar, and Vichitravirya is the son of the same Satyavati by the great king Shantanu, the father of Bhishmadev. This mysterious history of Vidur was known to Maitreya Muni because he happened to be a contemporary friend of Vyasadev's. In spite of Vidur's birth from the womb of a kept wife, because he had otherwise high parentage and great connection, he inherited the highest talent of becoming a great devotee of the Lord. To take birth in such a great family is understood to be an advantage for attaining devotional life. Vidur was given this chance due to his previous greatness. So as we said yesterday, that Krishna, he arranges, if somebody is not yet finished their devotional service, he arranges them to take birth in a family where they can again continue with their devotional service. Is that okay? Yes? So we can go to the next one. Text 21. Bhavan Bhagavato Nityam Sammatah Sanugasyaha Yasya Gyanopadeshaya Madishad Bhagavan Rajan. Your good self is one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whose sake the Lord, while going back to his abode, left instructions with me. Yamraj, the great controller of life after death, decides the living entities' destinies in their next lives. He is surely among the most confidential representatives of the Lord. Such confidential posts are offered to great devotees of the Lord, who are as good as his eternal associates in the spiritual sky. So Yamraj, he has a great responsibility. He is deciding people's destinies. Where should a person be born in the next life? Now, if he's not a devotee of the Lord, then he could take whimsical decisions out of envy, out of anger, and then what would happen to the people? Innocent people would have to suffer. So Krishna is so kind. He has arranged it like that the person who's going to decide, where you're going to be born in the next life, he is a pure devotee. So he has nothing personal about it. He's just acting on behalf of Krishna. That this is a duty given to me by Krishna, so I'm doing it. A Yamraj otherwise doesn't like to punish people. Who would like to do that? He doesn't. And he's a pure devotee especially. But he does this thankless task on behalf of Krishna. And because Vidur happened to be among them, the Lord, while returning to Vaikuntha, left instructions for Vidur with Maitreya Muni. Generally, the eternal associates of the Lord in the spiritual sky do not come to the material world. Sometimes they come, however, by the order of the Lord, not to hold any administrative post, but to associate with the Lord in person or to propagate the message of God in human society. Such empowered representatives are called Shaktiavesh avatars, or incarnations invested with transcendental power of attorney. So there are certain living entities, the eternal associates of the Lord. They have that special mercy of the Lord. They are especially given this power by the Lord. And what is the power? To spread the message of God, to bring the conditioned souls back home. And they are called Shaktiavesh Avatar. They're empowered personalities. Vyasadeva is one such Shaktiavesh Avatar. And there are many Shaktiavesh avatars. King, who's that? I forget the name. Anyway, we'll come across in Bhagavatam later. So, continuing reading, text 22. Athate Bhagavad-Lila Yoga Mayorubrim Hitaha Vishwasthiti Udbhavanartha Varnami Anupurvashaha. I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends his transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another. The omnipotent Lord, by his different energies, can perform anything and everything he likes. The creation of the cosmic world is done by his Yoga Maya energy. So Krishna, he does not physically, like how we see a potter, he takes the earth and puts it in the wheel and then it gives shape. So he puts his physical endeavor. Krishna doesn't do that. He has his energies. And then everything is put into motion. Everything is done by Krishna's will, simply by his energies. So because people want to take away Krishna's energies, that's why they're not able to understand how Krishna can do such wonderful things, because they separate Krishna from his energies. But nothing is separate from Krishna. And no one is separate from Krishna. Text 23. Bhagavan Eka asedam agra atmatmanam vibhuhu Atme chanu gatav atma nana mati upalakshanaha. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. The great sage here begins to explain the purpose of the 4 original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Chatushloki Bhagavatam that Krishna spoke to Brahma, that Maitreya Muni is beginning to explain it to Vidur. And then how did Maitreya Muni get that knowledge? Krishna himself gave it to him. And he told him, give this knowledge to Vidur. So Krishna is the original speaker of the Vedas, of Srimad Bhagavatam. Although they have no access to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the followers of the Mayavad impersonal school sometimes screw out an imaginary explanation of the original 4 verses, but we must accept the actual explanation given herein by Maitreya Muni because he, along with Uddhav, personally heard it directly from the Lord. The first line of the original 4 verses runs, Aham eva sham eva agre. The word aham is misinterpreted by the Mayavad school into meanings which no one but the interpreter can understand. Here, aham is explained as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the individual living entities. So, because if we want to imagine something, we can imagine anything. Our minds are very, very creative in that way. If something is a fact, but we don't want to accept it and put some other meaning, interpret it in a wrong way, and convince others that that is wrong, some people will get influenced by our thinking, but not everyone. Somebody who has a little more intelligence will look through it. So here, aham, Prabhupada is explaining that the impersonalist philosophy, they misinterpret the word aham as the living entity. But the words are spoken by the Supreme Lord. So if he's saying aham, it means him. Why will it mean the living entities? Right? If I say I am speaking, so then you can't say, oh, somebody inside me is speaking. No, it is me who's speaking. We just accept it. No need to overthink things. Before the creation, there was only the personality of Godhead. There were no Purusha incarnations, and certainly no living entities, nor was there the material energy by which the manifested creation is affected. The Purusha incarnations and all the different energies of the Supreme Lord were merged in him only. So before Krishna expands as Mahavishnu, everything exists in the unmanifested state. We also eternally exist in the body of the Lord. But it doesn't mean that we don't have an individual existence. We are always individuals. We are never ever Krishna. We are parts of Krishna. The personality of Godhead is described herein as the master of all other living entities. He is like the sun disk, and the living entities are like the molecules of the sun rays. This existence of the Lord before the creation is confirmed by the Shrutis. Vasudeva va idam agra asit na Brahma na cha Shankara. Eko vai Narayana asinna Brahman neshanaha. So that Krishna existed before the creation is mentioned in all the Vedic scriptures. And that who are we? We are his energy. As the sun has the sunshine, similarly, Krishna exists and we exist. So because everything that be is an emanation from the personality of Godhead, he always exists alone without a second. He can so exist because he's all perfect and omnipotent. Everything other than him, including his plenary expansions, the Vishnu Tattvas, is his part and parcel. Before the creation, there were no Karanavashai or Garbhodakshai or Kshirodakshai Vishnus, nor was there Brahma or Shankar. The Vishnu plenary expansion and the living entities beginning from Brahma are separated parts and parcels. Although the spiritual existence was there with the Lord, the material existence was dormant in him. So everything is his energy. The material world is the manifestation of his material energy. So it is Krishna's will when he manifests this material world and when he doesn't. So even if the material world is not manifest and the living entities are not put inside, they still exist eternally as separate parts and parcels of the Lord. Always separate, never, never, never as the Lord himself. By his will only is the material manifestation done and undone. The diversity of the Vaikuntha Lok is one with the Lord, just as the diversity of soldiers is one with and the same as the king. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.7, the material creation takes place at intervals by the will of the Lord. And in the periods between dissolution and creation, the living entities and the material energy remain dormant in him. So the manifestation is temporary, but the energy is eternal, is permanent. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah, quite clear.
Thank you. So text 24. Sa eva esha tada drashta na pashya drishyam ekarat mene shantam ivatmanam supta shaktir asupta drik. The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separate parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. The Lord is the supreme seer because only by his glance did the material energy become active for cosmic manifestation. So even the quantum theory, the scientists, they have the quantum theory, and even they say that the atom starts moving only because it's observed by someone. So they also know that the origin of the universe is like that. But they don't give that credit that, okay, the observer is Krishna himself. But they do know, quantum does say that somebody observed the atom and that's how everything starts moving. So the same is written here in Bhagavad Gita, that when Krishna glanced at the material energy, when Mahavishnu, he glances at the material energy, then everything takes place. At that time, the seer was there, but the external energy over which the glance of the Lord is cast was not present. He felt somewhat insufficient, like a husband feeling lonely in the absence of his wife. This is a poetic simile. The Lord wanted to create the cosmic manifestation to give another chance to the conditioned souls who were dormant in forgetfulness. The cosmic manifestation gives the conditioned souls a chance to go back home, back to Godhead, and that is its main purpose. So why does Krishna create this material world? Is for us so that we can give up our conditioning and we can go back home, back to Godhead. And what is our conditioning? That I want to be the controller, that I am the controller, I am the owner, I am the enjoyer, I am separate from Krishna. That is our conditioning. The Lord is so kind that in the absence of such a manifestation, he feels something wanting, and thus the creation takes place. Although the creation of the internal potency was manifested, the other potency appeared to be sleeping, and the Lord wanted to awaken her to activity, just as a husband wants to awaken his wife from the sleeping state for enjoyment. It is the compassion of the Lord, for the sleeping energy that he wants to see her awaken for enjoyment, like the other wives who are awake. The whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as the ever liberated souls in the Vaikuntha Lokas. So the souls in the Vaikuntha Loka, they are ever liberated. They don't become conditioned. They don't think themselves separate from Krishna. And then Krishna wants us to go back home. To become, once we go back home, then there is no difference between the ever liberated souls and us. Then because time is conspicuous by its absence in the spiritual world. Time is there only for the sake of pastime. So then there is no difference. Once we go back home, then we are liberated, as good as ever liberated. Since the Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha, he likes every part and parcel of his different potencies to take part in the blissful Ras, because participation with the Lord in his eternal Ras Lila is the highest living condition, perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. Now, Krishna could have left us alone. He could have said, oh, these living entities, they are in illusion. They don't want to listen. They just want to be stubborn and keep thinking that they're controller when they are not. He could have left us alone, but he's kind. He's kind, like a father is always kind to his son, always trying to give him good advice. So Krishna is like that. He's compassionate. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. He could have said, okay, you'll just be here in the material world. And he could have put happiness here in the material world. But he didn't, because he knows that we can experience true bliss only when we are connected to Krishna. Only when we are with him can we feel the highest pleasure. And here Prabhupada is mentioning that the Ras Leela is the most highest and the most confidential of the pastimes. And then a living entity should try to transfer himself to there. And then Lord Krishna, he came as Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago to give this highest bliss to everyone. The Sankirtana movement is Lord Chaitanya's Ras Leela, in which he is telling everyone to join in. He's welcoming everyone. Join the Hare Krishna movement. Chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. And give Krishna to everyone. That is Lord Chaitanya's Ras Leela. And if we take part in that, then very easily we can go back home, back to Godhead, and take part in the eternal Ras Leela of Krishna. There is no difference. There is no difference between Lord Chaitanya's Ras Leela and Krishna's Ras Leela. Is that okay?
Yeah, just one question. So the internal potency, Krishna is Radharani.
That's right.
Correct?
That's
right? And the external is Maya.
That's right. Durga Devi.
Durga Devi. Maya, like Yog Maya and Mahamaya.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll stop here for today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande. Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.